Okay, Playmates, page 228, y'all. I've just been engrossed into this book. It's very magical. It might be one of my top books of the year. And it surprised me. I didn't know it was going to be this good. So I could see why Jan Agathon always talks about this book, because it takes you to another place, and I don't know, it puts me in a trance every time I pick it up, and it's to the point where I can't think about anything else but this book. So yeah, so like I said, I'm on page 228, and I absolutely loved it, like the first page, because I love the personification of darkness and personifying the darkness into a man that she had like sketches of. This is a guy like that she imagined, and so the darkness personified this. That was so cool. And we finally know his name. At first he was like a stranger, a god, like the darkness of God, and so now she named him Luce. So that's been pretty fun, and she's like been haunted by him, because he's the only one that can remember who she is up until Henry. And I absolutely love Henry, but he's kind of mysterious too, because we don't know like his background. But I'm just now learning his background, because he's really hard all the time. So when he gets rejected, it's like a extreme blow, and he always just feels too much. But yes, guys, and I love the small details, like in the beginning. I think that's super cool. And there goes the heart, because like I said, we're talking about Henry now. And then I love the 7 stars, and then the 7 stars on the cover, which is supposed to symbolize her freckles that remind people of stars. Like, I think that's so cool. I love the writing in here. I think it's so magical, and it's like butter. It's just so smooth, and I don't know, I can't explain it, but I love how it makes me feel. And the fact that it's also real life too. It mixes fantasy and real life, so it's like fantasy realism, which is really, really cool. And I love the settings. I love the current day New York, like 2014, where she meets Henry. And I love the past, where she was born. She was born in like Villain, France, and then she goes to Paris, France. That's so cool to me. And yeah, and the fact that she's like a ghost, but like still in a human form, I think that's really cool. And just like the deja vu, like nobody else can remember who she, like in one instant, who she is. So like, that's crazy. And then like all the implications of it, like she can't write anything, she can't buy a house, she can't do nothing, because she doesn't really exist, but she does at the same time. So she's completely free, because she can't leave her mark on anyone or anything. So I just love this concept of this book. Like I said, it's probably one of my favorites, and that's saying a lot, because I have a lot that I like. But yeah, this is definitely up there. So yeah, I'm about halfway through, and yeah, I think it's just been a magical journey, and I just love it so much. Like, it really just blew my mind. It's my first book by V.E. Schwab, and I think that they did an amazing job. Their writing is so just magical. I don't really know how else to say it, but it's just like magical. And yeah, and I love the night. Nighttime is my favorite time. As you guys may know, I love reading at night. I love the stars. I like looking up at the stars. So this really just is my type of book. And I love darkness. If you guys know, one of my favorite villains is the Darkling from the Shadow and Bone trilogy. I love the Darkling, so I don't know, I feel like this book has everything about that I like about other books in one. I love that Henry works at a bookstore, and just the culture and the art, the love of art. I just love it. It talks about the Odyssey, and I don't know, I just love this book so much, you guys. Right, yes, and I just love that Henry's the only one that can remember her. And it was so funny the first time when they made their date appointment, and she was like, is he gonna remember me? And he didn't. But his friends, Beau and Robbie, they don't remember her, so that's pretty interesting and funny to watch. The Shadow and Bone vibe had a baby with according to Mr. Fury, and if they had a baby, this would be the baby, if that makes sense. And that just broke me to pieces. Especially when her whole thing was that she wanted to leave and never wanted to come back. Like, she didn't even know like all the implications to her wishes, I guess. And her desire to get away. I think the cat's named Book, and he stays at the bookshop, and I think it's an orange tabby. Like, come on, it's so cute. And it just reminds me of my library that I go to. Like, they have two cats. One cat's named Princey, and Princey is just the cutest cat ever. It's like black and white. I just love also the foreshadowing in this book. I think that's super cool. I love the foreshadowing in here. Okay guys, so now I'm on page 247, and I am absolutely loving that we get to see Henry's like first day with Hisley. Hilarious, because everybody is so agreeable to him, and like everybody just loves him basically, like he can do no wrong. And oh my gosh, it's just becoming a whole mess. Like Rob, that's why in the layout of this book like makes it like, oh, that's why. I'm telling you, this is a piece of art. This is a piece of art. Yes, so it all makes sense now. Like, I love how it was in the present and now we're moving back to the past, so now the present makes much more sense now. Does that make sense? Hopefully. But yeah, so we're realizing why Robbie is so like protective and want to be with Henry. You know, at first you're just thinking, you know, obviously because maybe he just wants to get back together and now he's becoming jealous, but no, it's and like even at the bookstore, like all of his customers are like, oh yeah, I will, like they go above and beyond with him for no reason at all. So So that is wild. And like even going like even like towards the beginning of the book, when we were just meeting Henry and like everybody was liking Henry, and that was like interesting. Like when they went to the theater, like the one, and then like when we first met Henry in the library, there was a girl all over him. Oh my gosh, so he never knows like when it's like actually true love because everybody likes him. Like what? That's so cool. OMG. This is like, how did she come up with it? Wild. Like how did you produce this amazing piece of art? The writing is so glorious, so magical. It's like butter on toast. I just love it. No meaning to like what we already read in the beginning of the book, so that's really cool. But yeah, so now we're like looking at everything like so much more differently now, so that's interesting. It's pretty cool. Yeah, this is definitely going at least in my top 10, probably my top 5 of my favorite books of this year. This is just, it's perfection. It's so good. I don't even know what else to say. I just love this book so much. Like his barista, he's been going there for like 5 years, and if 2 of these years the barista always asks for his name and what he wants for order and never like acknowledges him, like, oh, you've been coming here, you're a regular. She never does that, but after all over him, giving him his her number on the cup, and she's like, we'll see you later, Henry, and all of this. It's crazy. It's kind of like just like what? I think that's pretty interesting, and how he just wanted to be enough, and now like everything is just fake, and like fake love and fake compliments, and it's crazy. And then poor Vanessa got me just, I'm like how she was just like, oh, I love you and I want to get married. That's hilarious. Within a week, that's crazy. Alright guys, so we're powering through. It doesn't even feel like I look up and it's already dark. That's how how much this book has me in a trance, because it's just so magical, and the foreshadowing, the metaphors, the imagery, the personification, it's all just a work of art. It really is. And you have these 2 stories of these 2 people who, you know, they asked for, this is a perfect example of like, be careful what you ask for, to an extent of, it's always to what extent. I don't know, it's just pretty much Addie, she just wanted to be free, and we see the consequences that brought. And then you have Henry, who just wanted to be enough, just wanted to be loved, and we saw the consequences of that, and how they both now just are colliding into each other and can appreciate that aspect. Is really just magical. The art, the appreciation of art in here is wild. You have the French and France culture, and then you have New York in 2014, and I love it, all these different centuries being brought together in one. It's just a really amazing book, and just like I said, darkness being personified, and being able to caress cheeks and not get rained on, and it's just amazing. So I'm enjoying this book, you guys. OMG guys, I'm bursting with joy right now. I'm on page, oh, it doesn't say, 293, and oh my goodness, it was the most beautiful page ever. Oh wow. Now we can draw. Oh my goodness, that's so beautiful, because she's not able to write anything, but he figured out a way to Henry figured out a way for both of them to write together, and she puts her hand on top of his, and she's guiding his hands. Like, how romantic. That's so cute. I love that so much. And then she's able to write her name. Oh my goodness. And it sits nested among the many drawings. Addie Larue. Oh, that's just guys, I love this book so much. I can't even explain to you guys. It's so beautiful. It's everything that I ever wanted and needed. Wow. It's just the perfect love story, but it has fantasy, it has darkness, it has real life. It's amazing, you guys. It's definitely going into my top 10 at least, but it's probably gonna make it a top 5, to be honest, because wow, this is amazing. And the fact that I've been out here reading, probably for when you guys first saw me, it was light outside and now it's dark. So I think I was out here at 2 o'clock and now it's, I think, 6 o'clock. So that's wild. But it's just, you just get so engrossed with the story, and I'm just enthralled by it, and I feel like it just wrapped me up and won't let me go. I feel like it just grabbed onto me. So yes, guys, I'm really loving this story. It's definitely a 5-star read to me, and I just love when like magic is bringing real life and making it so magical. And I feel like that's the best fantasy of it all, when it's actually real life stuff. So, but you just add a bit of magic to it, and just the writing in here is so superb, so smooth, just so buttery. I can just imagine them writing this book and them just getting lost into their own writing, but it's so organized at the same time, but just having all of these ideas flow onto the paper. It's beautiful. It's a masterpiece. I absolutely love this book so much. And it's called The Shadow Who Smiled and the Girl Who Smiled Back. And I just love these. I don't know if you guys can see, but they're so cool. OMG, guys, so the Whispering Gallery on page 316 sounds super awesome and cool. I hope it's true. I'm gonna look it up to see if it's a real thing in real life, because that sounds super cool. And the fact that Henry is teaching Addie new things, even though she's 323, over 300 years old. That's pretty cool. So I think that was so unique and spectacular. Y'all already know my crazy self is blushing over page 321, so let me set the scene as to what happened. So we are in Paris, and the revolution is happening, and guess who comes to her rescue? Luce. And so Luce takes her to Florence, which is in Italy, which is so crazy. All these different settings, I'm loving it. And it's now July 1789. And so she's like, oh, make up your mind. The last time I saw you were breaking my bones to make me yield, and twisting and turning me, and making me endure all this pain. And now you're rescuing me and showing me all this kindness. And he says, don't mistake this for kindness. He says, I simply want to be the one who breaks you. I'm squealing. Page 321. You know, my twisted self. I love it. I love it. It's giving me the Darkling, which I love. I love me the Darkling from the Shadow and Bone trilogy. I love it. So yes, page 321. Let me take a picture. I think I already took a picture, but definitely taking a picture of page 321. Love it. Okay guys, so now I'm on page 334, and what a scene. Oh wow. So we have Addie talking to Luz. He appeared at her artwork, and she's like, look, and he appears at the museum. She thought she was alone, but he appears. Luz does. And OMG, she's kind of like, oh, look what I've done, I outwitted you. And he's like, no, we are not the same. She's like, no, we are the same. You just don't want to be alone. That's why you want to play this game as well. And he's like, we are not the same. And he takes her to Beethoven's house, and he eats his soul, and he transforms. He removes the disguise, and it's just wild. And he's like, now my darling, do you still think we're the same? She finally feels the fear and how just darkness and how unhuman he actually is. And it was such an amazing scene. The imagery, it was just amazing. Whew, I was getting nervous myself. I was like, oh my goodness. Woo. Wow, 5 stars. This writing is amazing. OMG, I just can't put it down, you guys. I'm like in a trance. I cannot put it down. So yeah, we're just gonna keep on trolling. Also, it's not helping that I'm listening to classical music. Like, that's not helping at all. It's actually making the experience so much better. It's keeping me into the trance, and it's creating the perfect vibe for me, so I can't stop. So yeah, I'm just listening to like classical music, and it's perfect. So yes, if you want to elevate your experience while reading this masterpiece, then I suggest you to listen to some classical music or some whimsical music. So yes, but wow, I am speechless. This book is amazing, you guys. So we're just gonna keep it moving, keep it going. So yeah, I've been making it my business to finish this book, and I was reading outside on Friday. I came outside maybe around, I want to say 2 o'clock, and next thing I know it was 10:40 and it was dark, and I was just thinking it was only like 8 o'clock. It gets really dark here in Mexico really early, so I'm like, okay, maybe it's just 6 o'clock, 8 o'clock at most. I looked at my clock and it said 10:40, and I was like, OMG, I've been just reading outside for all this time. But that is what this book will do to you. It will put you in a trance. And I'm sorry if you guys hear like that grass cutting noise in the background. And also, if you guys see flakes in my hair, mind your business, because your girl, I've been solely focused in Miss Addie Larue. Okay, I've just been solely focused on this book. I know I needed to wash my hair, but my sole mission for this weekend was to finish this book. So everything else was pushed to the side. Didn't even eat, barely drank some tea. Like, this is all I was thinking about. So I finished Friday, and today's Sunday. So I can never just jump into a new book. I always have to kind of like sit and let it, have to ponder over it and just bask in the glory of what I just read, whether it be good or bad. So now that it's Sunday, I did start on a new book, but I'll tell you guys. I'll talk about that later. But wow, I can't believe I'm finished with this book. I feel like it's just attached to me, and I think it will always hold a special place in my heart. And wow, this was truly a masterpiece. I can see why Jan Agaton always talks about this book. because it's quite unforgettable. And that was pretty much the theme of this book, was life and how it's always changing, it's always moving, and sometimes you feel like you can't hold on. You blink and you're 50. It's wild. And yeah, first you was at the playground, you blink, now you're in college, you blink, now you have kids, and or either way it goes, you're an adult. Whether you have a family or not, you're still like an adult and you have all these responsibilities, and it's wild. So yeah, and the fact how this book was so magical and also real life, that had the perfect mixture of magic and fantasy, and also just, I don't know, it was just amazing, you guys. I definitely gave it 5 stars right off the bat, period. It was just everything that I needed to be, and I didn't even know it was going to be like this. Like, I barely read the back of the book. I just wanted to jump into the story. So I didn't really know that much going in. I just knew that Jan likes the book, so I was just like, okay, she has good taste, so I'm probably gonna love it. And then I just found myself lost in a trance. It was just beautiful. I could just imagine the author V.E. Schwab just sitting at her table with her coffee and just writing and being lost in the world. Like, I just want to ask her, how did she come up with this? And yes, it's everything that I love about a book all in one. Like, you guys know, if you didn't know, one of my favorite books is Siege and Storm and the Shadow and Bone trilogy. I love that book and that series. So yes, if you guys didn't know, the Shadow and Bone trilogy in the Grisha verse by Miss Lee Bardugo, she's one of my favorite authors, and that's one of my favorite series. So yes, and mainly because of Mr. the Darkling. You guys know the Darkling is my husband, and so with that being said, you guys already know I love this book because I love the Darkling, and Luce was very similar to the Darkling. He was pretty much the darkness personified, which was so cool. I was eating up that concept of like Luce being this trickster and this darkness, but he took into a form of a human that Addie imagined and sketched up herself. I thought that was amazing and super cool. And man, oh man, and you guys know I love like nighttime and the stars, and it was everything that I loved, it all in one book. So that was so cool. I loved her imagery, her word choice, her diction, everything was just flowing, just like a beautiful stream down a river or something, I don't know, but I was just floating. It just took me away. I didn't even feel like I was reading. It just put me in a trance, and I can't even say nothing more. It was so cool how Addie kind of had this past. She kind of had like this before and after. Pretty much her dilemma was she wanted to be free. She didn't want to be part of like society's shackles of, having to be a wife and growing up. So on her marriage day, she escaped, and she called upon and wished for freedom. And guess who answered? It was Luce, this darkness. And what a character, he was so much like the Darkling. And talking about my Adeline and the power that he held, because he knew her past. He was the only one with that power to know her past and that could say her name. Like, come on now, I was eating it up. So it was like this kind of love-hate relationship they had. It was kind of like a love triangle with Addie and Moose, and then Addie with Henry. There's just so much to unpack in this book, and it was so magical. It made real life seem like a dream. I enjoyed going through Addie's life and just the characters and people she met. For instance, Remy, that was such a impactful time in her life, and I felt like that was so just significant to the story and to her life in general, because he accepted her, but you know, the next day he didn't remember who she was. So I was like, OMG, the heartbreak. And then also the wooden bird that her father crafted, that was her last piece to her past, and when she lost that, my soul broke. I said, oh my goodness, that's horrible. I felt so sad for her at that moment, because that was the only piece she kind of had. And then also having to go through life having to kind of like lie and steal, that was crazy. And just the pros and cons of always being forgotten, which was pretty interesting. Like sometimes it worked in her favor, but like sometimes it was horrible, like when she had to go to jail. The fact that Luce was always appearing and then sometimes disappearing, it was so cool. I have my little notes here of different parts. I tried to vlog, but my mom hasn't read it yet, so I didn't want to spoil it for her, so I just kept writing it down. And also I didn't want to put anything in my Goodreads because I didn't want to spoil it for my mom. And if you did not know, my mom is Sassy Diva JJ. So I definitely know it's top 10 of this year, but it probably might be top 5 because I love everything about this book. It was giving like haunting, which is one of the reasons why I love the Darkling, because he always kind of haunts. But anyways, yes, I love the magic. I also love the time traveling and the arts, the love of arts in here. Like Beethoven was mentioned, Shakespeare, I think maybe even Mozart, but just the love of arts was a major part of this book. And also I loved the history, like the revolution in France. And I love the background of France. We had Paris, France, but we also had Villon, France, which was really cool. That was her hometown. And then we had New York, 2014 New York, so it was really cool seeing those two, all the different settings. And I loved when she was in New Orleans. That's one of my favorite places. I've been to New Orleans with my mom, and that was such an amazing experience. Yes, New Orleans is so cool. And if you've watched the originals, which is the sequel of the Vampire Diaries, their setting was New Orleans, and I really loved that. I just love New Orleans, the magic of New Orleans, the skulls, the Mardi Gras, just the energy. It's amazing. So I'm glad that they went to New Orleans in here. And yes, so reading Luce was a time. I really loved his sarcasm, their war, and then their hatred, and then their love for each other was so cool. The imagery was amazing. I loved when they were dancing. I thought that was so cool. And I don't know, it was just like I was team Luce just because I love like the danger of it all, but Henry was amazing too, like being able to finally write her name, because he was writing it but her hand was guiding his hand. Like how genius was that? That was so cool. And then I love the little details in this book. For instance, the 7 stars, which represent her freckles. Like, come on, that's so cool. And then the cover of the book, so like the constellations and the stars on the book. So cool. Reread books, but if I were to reread a book, I would definitely reread this book maybe 2 years from now and pick this up just to get lost back into the world, and I think that would be pretty cool. this book definitely is gonna like stick with me. Like I said, it's probably top 5. It's definitely top 10 at least. So it's always just to what extent. Be careful what you wish for. That was the vibe of this book. Their dinners, Luce would always take Addie to these like fancy smancy dates, and I was just like, OMG. And then the fact that they thought they outwitted Luce, Luce was like, you thought you guys outwitted me. In here was amazing, hands down. It puts you in a trance. And I love that it was a real world setting, that you had like France, you had Italy, you had New York, you had New Orleans, you had California. That was really cool and amazing. And it was real life problems that we all think about and go through as well. And just the centuries, the way that she was able to go through or see the change within centuries, like, that's amazing. Like, we can see how much change in 5 years or in a decade, but she was going through life in a century, and I thought that was so cool. But I really loved the cat and mouse game and the haunting in their war between Addie and Luce. That was so cool. And I was like, when is she going to surrender? When she's going to give up? And she was like, no, I'm never going to give up. And I loved the ending, how she was still like, words, how powerful words are. And how she was saying, oh, it's all about the wording. And that's what he taught her. And so she learned from that. The ending is perfect. I feel complete. I don't feel like there's no loose ends. I feel full from this book. And so yeah, the cat book, she was adorable. She was an orange tabby, and all I was picturing was Garfield. That was pretty cool. Just read it. If you had this on your list, then read it, especially if you like the Shadow and Bone trilogy, if you like the Darkling. Also, if you like A Court of Mist and Fury, I think you should read this as well. Because it's the same type of imagery, but then just put it in a real world. But yes, it definitely gave me the Darkling vibes, and you guys know the Darkling is my husband, so Luce is like the Darkling 2.0. Yes, so I absolutely loved it. Absolutely love it. That's all I have to say.